Good morning, Shefa Bracha V'Atzlacha, Shiur Shmatam Shirushim V'Torim. We are in two parashot, Matot Masey. They are ending this book of Bamidbar, and it's a very interesting ending that tells us a lot. As we talk in the second parasha Masey on the journeys that Am Yisrael are doing, Ela Masey Bnei Israel, which is also a very interesting point. I don't know if we're going to get to it today, because I want to start with the first parasha of Matot, Vaydaber Hashem el Rashi Matot. And this written, Moshe Rabbeinu is talking to the heads of Am Yisrael. Le'emor zeh hadavar, that's the thing that God is ordered. And what is it? Ish ki yidor neder. If you take a vow on yourself, if you promise something, or you swear on something, or you take on yourself something, lo yachel dvaro, kechol hayotze mipiv yaseh. You should not, let's say, when you say something, keep it. You should not say and then don't deliver. They say talking is cheap, but you have two things. First of all, let's talk about talking. Okay. We're talking about talking. Talking. What is the power of speech? It makes the difference between human being to animals and to other things, because in Sefer Bereshit, as we also say, Vayipach b'ashmo nishmat chayim, and God put the soul inside the man and the human being, and says onkolos vayipach b'ashmo nishmat chayim ruach memalela, the power of speech. So the power of speech is holy, and this not only makes the difference between a human being and all the other animals and creation, it makes also difference between the Jewish nation and the other nation, because we have to sanctify the power of speech. You know, the Chafetz Chaim Zatzal says, if you have to build something from Lego, for example, it takes time. Now, if we have Lego stones that are in the form of letters, and we have to build a sentence, it takes time. To take, for example, the Vav, the Aleph, the Bet, the Taf, to organize it and have the sentence. But if you have to say it, how long does it take? Wow, chic, ta. This is a miracle. This is the power of speech. Says the Chafetz Chaim. That is the guy who is talking all the time on Lashon Hara, but he says they have Lashon HaTov. You know how many mitzvahs you can do in a minute, talking nicely, talking on mitzvahs, talking good? And this is what we say, to sanctify the speech, to sanctify what we talk, and also to keep what we talk. You promise something, deliver. And we're talking about delivering what you say, what you promise. It's here very interesting, because it's written, Vaydaber Moshe el Rashi Hamatot. So Moshe is talking to the heads of the tribes. Le'emor, to say, Zeh hadavar asher tzivah Hashem. Why is it twice? You say he's talking to them. It's enough. What is Lo Omer to say? There are a lot of explanations, but one of them is very interesting. We said we have to understand. We're talking here about Atarat Nedarim. If you, we're talking here, the parsha in front is talking about if a child, it's not a woman, it's a girl between being like 12, between I think 11 and a month to 12. If she is taking on herself something, a vow, and so if she is married, the husband can cancel it, and if the father can cancel it, and that's what it's talking about on the surface. But inside this parasha is also what we call Atarat Nedarim. You know, if you promise something, if you took on yourself a vow, you can cancel it by 3 people sitting in front of you, they're like they based in, and they can cancel it. And it's very easy to do. And it's very interesting, because we all know, as we said 2 minutes ago, that the power of speech is a great power. For example, when we start Yom Kippur, how do we start Yom Kippur? What is the first thing we do on every Yom Kippur? Atarat Nedarim, canceling our vows. It's unbelievable. So it means that this is something very important. So here's a very interesting point. Vaydaber Moshe. So Moshe Rabbeinu is talking to the heads. Lehemor, to say Zeh hadavar. One of the explanations says that to the Rashi Matot, to the heads, he's telling the whole story. He's telling how can you cancel a vow. But to all the other people, Lehemor Zeh hadavar is talking about Ish ki yidor neder. If you take on yourself something, if you promise something, if you take a vow on yourself, you should deliver. Lo yachel dvaro. You should not cancel what you said. You should deliver what you said. And not telling them that it's very easy to cancel the vow. Why? Because as we said, it's important that people will realize that talking, as we say, talking is cheap. But you have to deliver. You have to understand that after you said something, you have to keep it. You have to be very careful in what you say. It's not only keeping the, let's say, the purity of the speech, which is also something that we have to understand. Our speech is not like the Goyim. The Goyim, they, I told you, as I had American friends, and when we used to talk, they, like every third word was, I don't want to say what it was. This is not nice. This is not nice talking. This is the way maybe the Goyim are talking, but not Jewish people. Jewish people should talk in a holy way, to sanctify the word, because words have power, have great power. As we said, the Chafetz Chaim said that when you have to build something from Lego parts, or if you have letters that are like figures of letter and you have to put them together in order to build a sentence. For example, Abba, you have to get the Aleph, the Bet, and the Aleph put together. It takes time. And if it's a whole sentence, it's Vav, Tala, Hakamocha, Vav, Aleph, Bet. You have to take all those things. It takes time. But if you have to say it, Vav, Tala, Hakamocha, it goes, no problem. So Chafetz Chaim says that you can in a minute do so many mitzvahs. And from the other side, if you talk, don't talk nicely. You are sinning. You are using this beautiful tool, the power of speech, in the worst way you can. The power of speech, as we said, is what makes the difference between human being and animal. God says, and Onkelos explains, the power of speech is the soul. So in other words, the way that we are showing what we are is with the power of speech. And if we use it in a pure way, we are sanctifying it. We are getting to the level that we should be. But unfortunately, we use it and with let's say, a bad language, to curse and to do bad things. This is terrible. So this is the power of speech. And also, as we said, if you promise something, deliver. So to Rashi Matot, it's Vayidaber. He's telling them the whole story, how easy it is to cancel what you said. But he doesn't tell it to Am Yisrael. Le'emor, to them he says, Lo yachel dvaro. You should keep what you promise. So, in order to understand how important it is, we start Yom Kippur with Kol Nidrei. But God gives us opportunity to get out of it, because it's so wrong to say something and not keeping it. It's so terrible. It's a great sin that God gave us a way to fix it. So if you promise something and you cannot keep it, you have a very easy way to cancel it. Take 3 people, they are the Beit Din, and they can cancel your vow. But from the other side, you have to understand the importance of speech. From the beginning, if you promise, you keep it. There is also another thing. There are heads of the people, like in politics. You see all the heads, they promise things before the election, and promising, and do they deliver? After the election, almost nothing. And we see today also, all this talk is cheap. They talk and talk and talk, but do nothing about it. They promise things, and they don't keep them. And this is what God is telling us. This is what Moshe Rabbeinu is telling Am Yisrael. If you promise, keep your word. Lo yachel dvaro. So it's sanctifying the word, it's keeping the words, is be careful with what you talk, the way you talk. And also, it says, Lo kechol hayotze mipiv yaseh. You have also those who talk and talk and talk and do nothing. No, talking is not enough. You have to do something about the talking. And that's exactly the idea. You want to show something. You want to teach somebody something. As we said in Kriyat Shema, Belechtecha baderech, b'shavtecha v'kumecha. When you go, when you walk, how you wake up, how you go to sleep, show your children, show your family how you behave. And this is the best talking that you can do, because talking is not enough. If you talk and you don't behave accordingly, this is nothing. You have to stand behind your talking. Also, talking, when we're talking about talking, that people sometimes says, what are you talking about? You say something and they just talk. Well, you're talking nonsense. And you know, Meir Shapira Milublil, the guy who had the idea of the Daf HaYomi, that's in the whole world, everybody is learning the same Daf in the Gemara, which is unbelievable today. I think thousands, 10,000, maybe more are learning, hundreds of thousands, I don't know, learning the same page of the Gemara every day all over the world. So if you come to a certain place, you can just be a part of the learning, because everybody's learning the same page. And he said that when he was a kid, he had this idea, and he was talking about it, and people were laughing at it. There was a group of people who were mocking him. yes, what a stupid idea. People all the world will learn the same daf. Wow, you are stupid. You think. But he did it. And years later, he met those people, and he told them, you have to know that you talking almost prevented me of doing this bright idea. And this is exactly what we have to understand. The power of speech, it goes all over. It's unbelievable the way we have to understand. So, when we promise something, we have to keep it. When we talk about it, we have to also not only talk, but also act accordingly. And to understand the power of speech, I always tell this story. It's also, we have to, he should do, and there's also those says you change the dots, and it's yaseh, it will be done. What does it mean? If you say, you have to be very careful with what you say, because the power of speech is unbelievable. In the graveyard in Petach Tikva in Zgula, and when you go on the first place where they started burying people, when you talk right, there is a stone, that on this stone is written an unbelievable story. It says, here is buried a guy that 10 days before he died, he said that he is willing to be the first one to be buried in this Bet Kvarot. The story is that they were thinking about building a graveyard in Petach Tikva in the beginning, and they thought where to do it and how to do it, and then this guy jumped and said, without thinking, he is willing to be the first one to be buried in this Bet Kvarot. And as he said it, it's very interesting. It's written, if I remember, on the stone, it's written that he died on Yutet of Tishrei, which means 9 days after Yom Kippur. So in every Yom Kippur, he said what he said. As we said, how important is the power of speech. And as we say, he said it and it happened. So we have to be very careful with what we say. The speech has power. It's like this lady was sitting and on a bus, and two girls behind were bragging and talking not nicely on another girl. And suddenly she turned around and says, wow, thank you for what you said now. You know, my son is going to marry to this girl that you're talking about, and now after I heard about her, how bad she is, I'm going to cancel the shiur. Those two girls got a fright of their life. No, we just talked about, you know, she's really an unbelievable girl. It's not right. And they were crying. I think. So I said, calm down. I just wanted to show you. My son doesn't know this girl. I don't know this girl. I just want to show you that when you talk, how dangerous it is. The power of speech is all around us. And this is what we say. We talking about a lot of things in life. We see all around us how it's not nice to say. But every morning we wake up and we hear terrible things are being said all around us. and really in a nasty way. Instead of using the power of speech to do peace, using the power of speech to do war. And the worst are those among us that talk badly about us, about our tradition, about our religion, about other people, and how careful we should be about this. And this is what Moshe Rabbeinu is saying. El Rashi Matot Ibnei Yisrael le'emor. Ze hadavar. That's the thing. Ish ki yidor neder lasem. Keep the power of speech. Talk nicely. Lo yachel dvaro. Talk in a nice way. If you promise something, deliver. Be aware of what you say, because after the words get out, you cannot take them back. There are a lot of terrible things that happen because of you, that we said something that we didn't mean, or it just went out of our mouth. So we learn a big lesson here about the power of speech. And it connects us also to the second parasha. Those are the journeys of Am Yisrael. And there is written something very interesting that I'll talk about it for a few minutes. 1 minute. Those are the journeys of the children of Israel that got out of Egypt. Vayktov Moshe, and Moshe Rabbeinu wrote, Motzaem leMasahem. That's the point, the starting point to the journey, Al Pi Hashem, on, let's say, how as God is saying, and those are the journeys to the starting point. What is this? Why is the Torah telling us the same thing twice, after we already know those are the journeys of Am Yisrael that got out of Egypt? So we know it. So why do we say it again? And also, two words twice and in a different order. The first one is Motzahem leMasahem, like the starting point to the journey, and then the second one, Masahem leMotzahem, the journey to the starting point. And I'm using those words specially because there are a lot of explanations here. But first of all is to understand. The neshama comes down to this world from up there, which is the point of starting, the starting point, and comes here for 42 journeys that we have in our parasha. Each neshama in the body has got those journeys, and we have to do them al pi Hashem. Go in the way of the Torah, in the way that God is ordering us. And then if we do this, then our journeys, Ele Masahem, our journeys are going to lead us back to the starting point, up to heaven. First explanation. Second explanation is connected to our days now. We unfortunately sinned. So we were sent out of Eretz Israel and the temple was destroyed. Those are Motzaem leMasahem. We got out of Israel, of the starting point here in Eretz Israel with the temple destroyed, and we went out to this diaspora to our journey. And we have to do the journey al pi Hashem, as God is ordering us, in the way of the Torah, in the way of God. And if we do this, those journeys are going to lead us back to Eretz Israel, leMotzaem, Masaem leMotzaem, to the starting point, and to Binyan Bet HaMikdash HaShlishi b'mehera b'yameinu amen. So in other words, the way that we're going here should be the way of God, of course, to fix everything. And if it's the neshama, and if it's the sin that we sinned, and as we said, one of the main thing is the power of speech. If we start, and we, Baruch Hashem, we're privileged to come back to Eretz Israel, which is the starting of the Geula. But we still haven't got the temple. So let us all use the power of speech in the best way we can. First of all, to spread love and not hate. Talking nicely. Sanctify the words. And promise and deliver. Use the power of speech in the best way, that Be'ezrat Hashem, we lead our journey back to Bet HaMikdash HaShlishi b'mehera b'yameinu amen.